Hey, what's going on, family? It's your boy MC Far coming at you with a weekly update. So, a lot has actually happened in the last couple weeks. That's kind of why we haven't been on the charts. We have been either traveling, hiking, or doing what we got to do to set ourselves up for the next chapter in our lives. So the really good part about this is we actually recently hit a goal. Aren't gonna talk too much about that, but it was a trading goal for the overall account. Me and Q have absolutely been crushing it. So we're gonna have a new goal video coming out here pretty soon for the next 6 months since we hit most of our goals for this year considering in the first 6 months. So we've been absolutely working really hard to do that. That's number one. Number two, so much has happened over the last 2 weeks. Unless you've been living under a rock, a really something really unfortunate actually took place in Pennsylvania. The former president Donald Trump was actually there was an assassination attempt on him. So if that's your first time seeing that here, which it probably shouldn't be, I would feel a little wrong not at least addressing that's what happened over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, somebody he was slightly injured on the ear, but other than that, no major damage happened. So as a sidebar to that, I would say to individuals, listen, you need to kind of be aware that certain people are on edge, and that don't let your success in your journey cause a distraction or pain to someone else, right? There's obviously going to be people that are going to see you and see that you're successful or see you striving for things. Don't let that kind of get you down. So, what I recommend for a lot of people that are looking to hit fire is kind of do what kind of Q shared with me is you don't necessarily have to share your successes with everybody. Just share it once you've hit your major goals, right? You don't have to tell people what you're trying to do. Just put your head down to the grindstone, put in the work, work hard, and then the successes will speak for itself. Pretty soon, you'll be successful, and people will be like, "Wow, like I didn't know you were doing all that. Congratulations." They won't know what to do because you will have worked hard, right? And the people that are gonna appreciate that are gonna let you know, and the people that are gonna be haters are gonna be haters. But in these times, people are very polarized, and that also goes for what you're trying to accomplish with you and your life, for your family and your personal goals. So, hey, man, just really work hard in silence here, and stay focused, and stay on the grindstone. Fire is achievable even today, even in this economy. So you know what they say: most millionaires are made during recessions and depressions. So just keep that in mind. This is if you've been on the game, this is your time to make something shake. Speaking of which, we're gonna dive into the charts here a little bit, but I just want to give you guys that to kind of give you a pick me up. For some people, this week has been pretty trying for us. Me and some of the brothers went to Atlanta. Absolutely crazy. We might drop some pictures for that, and then me and Q and the brother. We went to hike at the falls. It was really something special. So if you live in the Pacific Northwest, it has some of the most beautiful outdoors that you can think of, and we had to take advantage of some of that. It was really a good experience too. Yeah. So without further ado, let's dive into these. We're gonna kind of go down the list here since we've been out of whack for a little bit. We're gonna actually pull some other stuff up for you guys so that you can kind of see what all we're working with as regards to what's coming up in the news, and what the Fed is planning to do. Now, the Fed's meeting is coming up, so let's start. Let's start there. Okay, we are going to. I don't know why this one is displaying over there. Let's see if we can change that. Yeah, there we go. Awesome. Okay. We'll build it live, right? Okay, so we have here the bar charts. If you've been with the channel, you kind of know this is how we kind of view sector rotation. And as you can kind of see, the sectors that are at bottom are still pretty good value buys. They are slightly increasing as a sector, but I would say still coming in strong is tech and telecommunication services. SPY average or actually above at well, it's leading the pack for everybody else. So if you're not in communications, if you're not in tech, that ball has already kind of rolled significantly to the upside and is taking a lot of market share. So there is still really good opportunities in the real estate department. And you've got actually financials is one that we've kind of been eyeballing for a little bit, but real estate is actually the best pick of the litter right now. We don't think that it's gonna stay low forever. And if you compare real estate to the price of incomparable to what I call real money or gold, real estate is actually down about 20% for advance to gold. So I use gold as a really good measure because using dollars, you're really going to get an inflationary bump, and that's not going to give you the true value. I saw a video where a guy priced things in gold and it made sense. Yeah, gold is real estate is actually down 20%, which is in line with the what's going on today in the market, right? Everything's a little bit more expensive. Houses are a little bit more expensive, but people for some reason cannot seem to scoop up houses even though we're in a recession. So the housing market actually is in a recession, and that kind of shows. But for those who are cash rich, they're seeing this as an opportunity to scoop up everything. So on a side note, right, coming up here in July, the 31st of July, right, at the end of this month, the Fed CME Fed Watch tool is indicating that 5.25 to 5.5 is probably going to be and remain current. From what its current range is 5.25 to 5.5. So no surprise there. The Fed is what at the beginning of the year was promising us 3 rate cuts. The market has actually kind of priced that in. So I'd be very interested if the potentially September rate cuts to 5 and 5.25, if that actually has any major effect in the market. Now I think just the news will make it rally, but remember that is the 18th of September, so the market might have already priced that cut in and be looking to scale back a little bit on the massive buying. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Forex Factory, pretty eventful for today. We did have Fed Chair Powell speak on Monday, but coming up tomorrow, got a lot of red for Canada. We got some red for the USA, core retail sales. Kind of a big deal because your retail sales are going to tell you how healthy the consumer is and are they comfortable with going out and spending. So that's going to be a big one. I think as people adjust to the market shifts, they're going to get used to the prices. Actually, some companies have actually started offering pretty good deals. We know that McDonald's is like one of them that brought back a $5 deal. So instead of them charging an absorbent amount, they're doing that. Other companies are taking a little bit different approach to this recession. They are using like technology to offset some of the costs for individuals. So a lot of layoffs and probably some more to come. That's not necessarily a bad thing. You just got to know that wealth is never destroyed. It's merely transferred. So you got to be keen on where that's going. We're going to kind of talk about that a little bit too. So yeah, right after core retail sales, unemployment claims. This is going to be, for me, the unemployment claims is really going to tell us how healthy the economy is, as long as they're not, fabricating the numbers, right? Wink, wink. And then for Canada, they have their core retail sales. So it's going to be very interesting for the CAD, very interesting for the dollar. And that's something we can take a peek at. So there you go. So we're going to start out and kind of go down the list. We're going to hit it kind of fast because at this point, you guys kind of understand the 21 period moving averages, how we kind of define trends and where is it in relationship to the one standard deviation, right? So we got a good look at Bitcoin here. Bitcoin is in a uptrend, but that's kind of slowing. Got a pretty fat dip. So I told you guys a couple weeks ago that this level was a good opportunity for you to buy the dip. I know I said that in a previous video. If you come in and you took this dip based off this support level, hats off to you, because this week it gapped. Remember, this is Monday, and then it gapped up from 50.18 to 56 and a half. So pretty big gap there. There's a lot going on for the Bitcoin. You got Nicor here, also kind of the same thing. They got earnings coming up, so be careful if you're not one that likes to trade during earnings. This is not going to be the week to kind of to pick that up, because next week is going to be earnings. Just maybe wait till after earnings, see how the market reacts for that. But technically, very weak trigger to buy. But I would say if you're okay with the risk, the last pivot low is here. If you're okay with that risk, yeah, it's a trigger to buy. It's above the previous week's high and above the 8-period moving average. The moving average is going down. So again, this is a strong downtrend. You'd be buying in a relatively strong downtrend, but at a support level to where at least you can have a decent risk reward. If you're okay with the risk, cool, take it. Palantir, one of our favorites, absolutely crushing it. Now you guys know that we bought option contract in Palantir, actually got assigned on it because we wanted the shares. And we actually bought some shares back here during the dip. This is, I think, one of our better buys because of the fundamentals. It wasn't just we like the company, but the fundamentals are there. The cash flow has been slowly increasing, as you see here. Their EBITDA, if you watch some of our previous videos, had also increased and went positive the last quarter of last year. So looking really healthy for the company. And the revenue to debt is actually outstanding. Like the cash to debt is outstanding. So as a company, they're not really they're not in trouble. They're not taking any unnecessary debt. So that's why we think that this is going to be a great buy into the long term. Highs went to as high as 45. Current price is 28.68. So a lot of wiggle room to move there. So we're looking to hold that one. Tesla, we were a little early on Tesla, but as it pushed to the upside, it definitely had a break of trend. Right now, you're in a very strong uptrend. When 6 weeks ago we were eyeing to take the conversion just a little early, literally by 2 weeks. We were 2 weeks early. We had a 3-week play, and would have been nice to see in the future. Can't do that, right? It's too bad, but. Missed out on this juicy play, but at least our head was in the right moment. We kind of wanted to pull the same thing that we pulled here, watching Tesla come into what was a downtrend and then start to flatten out. And then we kind of just bought at the break. This is around the time we got our mentor and we were looking for bigger winners. This is what we were looking for, just a little early, but got to be on time there. XCOM, same thing, buy week up. Actually, yeah, it's in a week uptrend. So this is kind of one of the ones we're looking to actually to scoop up. XCOM or XLE, the energy sector, not looking too shabby, right? You have a low here, but then you have a higher low. So it's kind of forming, I'll draw this out for you, but it's kind of forming a nice juicy little ascending triangle there. And that's not saying that it's a trigger to buy. It just kind of showing you that there is, I'm just illustrating that there's buying pressure here. So it's not necessarily, hey, just rush into this play here. Buying pressure is stepping in for this play. So if it breaches, I would expect you to at least move up the base to the full length of this base. So from like 116 to 108. So that's essentially an $8 move to the upside. That's kind of what we would be thinking for that play. Look for about $8, and then that's a fairly good risk to reward before it starts, a real fight comes in for the stock. Apple in the stratosphere on the weekly chart, right? Definitely not looking to be a buyer of Apple at this time. Remember, we're looking for pretty good buys, and if anything at this level would be looking to hedge. Like I said, it's in the stratosphere, so Not necessarily looking to be a buyer of any Apple anytime soon, but Apple's a great company. So, you could say, well, I'm dollar cost averaging, but, there is a limit to what you could say is effective dollar cost averaging. This wouldn't be it. That's just my humble opinion. You guys do what you want. Moving on to XLE. So what I like and what I'm really kind of showcasing here is if you look at XCOM and XLE, they're kind of mimicking each other. That's a good sign. So you could take the overall the sector, and or you could take the actual individual stock, right? I think it's safer to take the sector. It's probably going to be a little less violent and a little less susceptible to news. So if you're looking for collecting nice premium, definitely I would take the ETF. If you're looking for a little bit more risk appetite, taking individual stocks is good, but their correlation is probably almost one-to-one correlation. So it's not going to be too much different. We got SPY. So we'll take a look at the SPY, right? SPX, SPY futures, just kind of a slow grind higher, right? It's been really steady throughout the year. Had a nice dip here. Great opportunity to buy. It was about as clean as it gets with this weekly hammer doji in the middle of the price action going into a strong uptrend. So definitely a trigger to buy here. Remember, we were holding, and I think we broke that down. It was just a blunder on our part, and the day that we were looking to execute was Shabbat. So we could not take a trade to capitalize on some of this downward movement. We just said, hey, we'll hold it for the upside and let it do its thing, which it has done. It's recovered very nicely, kind of just slowly ticking up, as we saw in the bar chart. The Q's very similar picture. We'll go to a cleaner chart here with the NQ. Yeah, the future version, same thing. The plays have been pretty consistently to the upside here. But people say that the technology sector is in a bubble. I wouldn't say that, because you would have to say if the technology sector is in a bubble, then the overall market's in a bubble, right? And you can argue that the overall market's in a bubble, sure, but looking through SPY's history, SPY has constantly made consecutive new highs. So you can't just say all like from here to here it was oversold for 2 quarters. At some point you have to be, hey, like, this is the norm. SPY is going to remain in a kind of a strong uptrend unless you have a macro shift or like the Fed does something. But the macro shift for the Fed was actually back here when they said they were going to hike rates. So when the market kind of priced that in, now Wall Street has adjusted, and it's been nothing but upside from there. So shout out to them. Lilly, kind of the same picture, really good stock. Also missed up kind of the push here on Lilly. We were a little afraid of this candle right here, and Lilly's very expensive. So, but we did. Lilly is one of our biggest plays all the way back here, and I will say that pretty much every time we pull up Lilly, because it really showed us the power of what is actually possible when you're trading options the correct way, looking for bigger winners. So shout out to that. Microsoft doing a little bit of a pullback to the 8-period moving average. If it kind of dips, peekaboos in there and pokes its head out, you could be looking to be a buyer of Microsoft. Microsoft's not going anywhere. And if you notice that the earnings, they have been kind of sliding a little bit, but still well within reason. And the dividend for it has been pretty consistent, or rising. So that's good for Microsoft. 5-year Treasury. 5-year Treasury actually triggered a buy 2 weeks ago, right? Not necessarily looking to be a buyer of Treasuries, but trading the futures ETF, that actually wouldn't be too bad. The 21-period moving average has actually started moving up, and the trend has shifted green. So because of that, you could say, okay, if I'm going to trade this, it might be a little late, but my risk to reward is what? Maybe 2 candles, and then I'll take it to the high, right? That might be something you can hammer down on a daily chart to take for maybe a week, but not looking to allocate too much capital to that. you might get something like this, but again, the rally could be short-lived. Now it is, just to put it in context, has made this last pivot low was higher than the last pivot low. So there is buying pressure there. And on a large macro level, that could be very, very powerful for potential testing of the high, right? Same thing for the 2-year treasury, kind of in tandem, same thing. They're almost twins there. 6B, got some Forex, British pound. British pound crushing it, absolutely dominating here. And the unbalanced volume isn't even green yet. So whatever pop rally happened here, the British are doing good. They broke previous pivot highs. So I would expect it potentially to test a high here. And it could do that because look at this week. This week, on the last pivot high, just absolutely mammoth fired up to the upside. So this week, last week, basically, kind of went halfway there. And so, yes, this thing can really get to moving when it really gets to going. Also, this is one of those pairs that if you're going to take a trade in the British pound, you probably and should, I recommend you use a higher time frame and limit your buying opportunities in the direction of the higher time frame. And let me explain why. Right? So let's say, for example, the British pound is in a very juicy rally. Now you might say, "Oh, I want to take this sell here. I want to take the sell at the top here." But why would you look to take the sell when you could take the engulfing green buy off of VWAP, right, and sell for potential, sell for it going sideways? If the thrust is up and you're selling contracts in a bullish sense, then that premium is going to be all the more the rage as it starts to get to expiration and then it fires away from them again. You definitely want to go in the direction of the trend. The trend is your friend. So just take that into account with stuff like Forex. It is violent and super volatile, as you can see on these candles. They have very long wicks, large liquidity grabs, and getting stopped out is pretty easy. So you got to be mindful that you need to be trading and give yourself the best advantage. Euro, not relative to the British pound, not as strong, but shout outs to the euro. Kind of the same picture there. Canadian dollar kind of struggling, and with the news that's coming out this week, I could see why. You get this nice hammer doji at the top, the sell trigger right there in the downtrend. This could be murder she wrote. Now we did take a rotational buy and we made some money almost perfectly. Just to complete the rotation for 3 weeks, we exited that with a very, very nice profit of like 283%, something crazy like that on our money. But here you see the sell trigger to complete the rotation and start the rotation down. So this could be a trigger with a stop out of the high here to take the rotation and leads to the downside. With all the news that's coming out, it's not looking too pretty. And like I think Canada has like crazy capital gains tax. So it won't look good for investors wanting to come there. They're going to be looking to get out of Canada quick. Unless, of course, you're in energy, right? Which they have a lot of. Speaking of energy, we have USO, United States Oil ETF. Had a pretty good rally over the last month. So, I mean, really can't complain about US oil. There was a pretty clean buy trigger as it broke here going into the next 3 weeks. Would have took you to highs, probably would have let it go at there or at least rolled it. And it's been pulling back for like the last 2 weeks. So if you look at this like a bear flag, I kind of see this as a bear flag, very similar to something like this. It pulled back for the next 2 weeks, didn't really make major headway, and you could look for a push into the 3 ATR. The reason why I could say that is because it had a swing high right here, and then as it pulls back, it's pulling back to fair value. So now the stock has a decision to make, right? It can complete the rotation to the downside, but it is in a uptrend, or it could finish because the sellers aren't really pushing, forcing the issue, right? So if they're not forcing the issue, buyers will get confident, step back in, take some buys here. Aussie futures, not too excited about that, other than the fact that kind of a new uptrend, but it's been slowly building. It's not dominant like this last uptrend was. It's coming out of a lot of chop. So choppy markets I tend to try to avoid unless there is a clear like catalyst or a clear support level that they're breaking. So not necessarily looking at the Aussie dollar for a nice clean trade. Light sweet crude, same thing as the XLE. I'd rather, if I'm going to go jump into the energy sector, it's probably going to be the XLE. Comparables, it looks like a lot cleaner buy trigger there than the than light sweet crude. Don't, could be wrong, right? But this almost looks 50-50 to me, whereas XLE looks way more poised to push, right? And why would I say that? When you look at light sweet crude, look at the 21, it's almost neutral. Whereas XLE, the 21 is clearly pointing up and has been pointing up for a very long time. So there's that. Now we got TJX, man. They have absolutely dominated. And what's crazy is the contracts on this puppy, they're not cheap, right? Not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. Now they're going to be cheap now because the market's closed. So the pricing isn't necessarily there. But these bad boys can get pricey. NVO. Let's go take a look at NVO here. What can I say about NVO? We like NVO. We like trading NVO. NVO is also another one that we saw early success with the mentor. This push here, we got NVO. Kind of, I was like, man, why am I like this is high? It's like, but when you see how it wicked into the cloud there, and then the next week absolutely exploded to the upside, right? And we rolled it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So caught all of that move to the upside. It was masterful. But right now, going sideways. Now, if it dips back into the cloud, could be a good juicy buy, kind of like this week here, dipped into the cloud. You could take a juicy buy there as it peekaboos back out. But yeah. Meta struggling after hitting new highs last week. So it's not really struggling, but you got a neutral 21 here. Let's zoom out here. You do have a neutral 21 peri-moving average, a large weekly engulfing red candle. So this candle broke to highs, and the next week gave all that up. So this week, right, if it breaks below the 21, man, that's almost a sell trigger. And that's why we have our alert here. We're looking to see if it breaks below, and we're kind of watching to see what it does from there. We want to know that break for Meta. Japanese yen. What can I say? Downtrend, down trigger. You almost trade it to take it to lows. But I would take it to lows on a daily, not necessarily a 3-week play. It's gonna hit that pivot low pretty quick if it gets down there. Nvidia, man, absolutely crushing it. Remember, we want to get leaps in Nvidia. We're looking for a little bit more of a juicier pullback. I know we've been saying that. It went as high as 140 and got as low as 118 again, right? But that's not. We're not. It's up there, but it's already moved so much. We're just gonna let it come to us. Like, what would be the plan? Maybe a test of the 21 period moving average, or at least the upper range of the ATR, right? If we do that, we can get our leap, hold it for the year, and hopefully it flies, right? Nvidia for the future. Amazon doing its thing, man. There's not too much really to say about Amazon. Your packages are gonna get there, and if they don't, you're gonna get free stuff. So just make sure you have a Ring camera for your door, because there's package thieves out there. It's crazy. It's like the wild west out there. AMD. Now this is a developing story, right? So the not the big boy chip maker, but AMD, the little boy chip maker, that is second in class, I would say is coming out of this neutral and with a nice juicy break previous week. So this week's pullback could be what you need if it wants to break and retest highs, right, of the previous week. We'll put an alert there. You guys saw it live, right? If it comes and breaks this, we'll be looking to see if it can complete the rotation to the upside. Could be a nice development because, again, chips are the future. And as NVIDIA gets a little bit more expensive, AMD is kind of, I'm talking about relative to real world like pricing, not this, right? Obviously, AMD is 179 and NVIDIA just did a stock split. So, yes, price wise, right now, NVIDIA per share is cheaper. So, AMD currently, right, is poised for a buy. Shopify, definitely clear sell trigger. We have an alert here, so if it breaks pivot low, we would be looking to get pushed to the downside. Unbalanced volume is red, and the trend's been red since May. So this big old wipeout candle for that week absolutely thrashed Shopify. Man, that was a rough week, but it has since bounced, and I think we were calling this out to you guys that could be a bounce in Shop. As well as BA. We're going to jump to BA. Yeah, we were calling out, hey, Boeing is chopping, and if we could start seeing some buy signals, that'd be great. Not seeing that, though. Boeing's been struggling, man. Really been struggling. Haven't been too bright either. So yeah, as we close out here, guys, I kind of flew through that, but things also honorable mentions to watch. Raytheon is in the slot. And we like in the slot because we developed a scanner that kind of scans if something is kind of like close to the 21 period moving average to see if it'll respect it. So what I mean, like there's that. You've got Merrick. Is it close to, basically, is it close to 21? We just call that the slot. What it does is come in, if it starts peeking out of that, like in squeeze fashion, it's just good to know, right? So Raytheon is something to watch, especially with the work going on in Ukraine. We would be looking to take a buy of anything in this. If it peeks out of there, we're definitely taking that buy. We want to be a buyer above 102.94. Not financial advice, I'm not telling you to rush in the stock, by all means do your homework, but the catalyst are there, the strong uptrend, it's respecting the 21 period moving average. It's got a lot of press around it because a lot of our politicians, they actively trade stuff like Raytheon and Lockheed Martin, I think it's LT. Yeah, Lockheed Martin. So they're watching those contracts and they kind of have some insider information on those contracts. So yeah, like Lockheed Martin this week opened as a buy, but I sent pullback. So if you can see maybe a push back above that, that'll definitely be a clear sign to take that buy. Pullback, and it's the sellers have been beaten out there. But we already have a buy on Raytheon, so shout out to that. So guys, literally that's all the time we have for today. If you guys have been liking what you've been seeing, please by all means like, comment, subscribe. Put in the chat what you guys want to see as regards to stock pickers, or if you want us to kind of do some of the things we've been doing on the Colstrum site. We absolutely love that site, and we've been looking through some of the items there to see what tickers we have for that. So if you guys want to check it out, and we'll be dropping that pretty soon. So stay tuned. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good day. Goodbye. Peace.